So from the jump, there's chemistry with Monica and Quincy. You can just see it even from the time they're kids. And that scene, I think this scene is so pure and it warmed my heart so much when he like walks up to her and they're walking to school together. And he's like, "You want to be my girl?" And she's like, "Well, what I gotta do?" And he's like, "You know, just like ride your bike with me, and then like, you know, when I make you mad, I'll get you flowers." And she like, "I don't like flowers." And he was like, "Okay." She was like, "But I like Twinkies though." And I'm like, oh, that is so cute. But then 5 seconds later, they get into this argument and they're rolling around on the dirt fighting each other. And I'm like, if that is not the essence of middle school relationships, I don't know what is. Like, from my experience in middle school, I know that to be true. And I taught middle school for about 3 years. And that is true. I had students who will be in a relationship at lunch, and by the time the buses are called for dismissal, they hate each other. They don't want to be near each other and they can't stand each other. And I'm just like, my head is spinning. My head is spinning. I don't know what to do with you guys.
The clip that you just saw was from Love and Basketball. I do believe it was made in 1993. I've been browsing YouTube as we normally do. You walk the YouTube streets looking for things to watch and things to comment on, right? And Dr. Johnson had just done a film review of Love and Basketball 20 some odd years later, and how he saw it then versus how he sees it now, and he could actually see the female empowerment in the movie. And this young lady reviewed it and basically echoed everything he said, because she saw everything the opposite way of what Dr. Johnson said. Just as Dr. Johnson had said that these feminist tropes were in there, and this is how Black women view it, I can see what he's talking about, because she said exactly the same thing that he said. It just the opposite of it. She saw it exactly the same way he would see it. But that's not what I want to talk about. You guys always hear me talking about the Klingon mating ritual that Black women practice, and they don't often admit it. I mean, we see it on the ground because we were little boys and we remember how mean little girls treated us, right? And sometimes, you know, it actually translates not as physical as it was back then. It was a little bit more pure and, you know, like kind of in your face, where a little girl would sock you in the back or hit you in the arm and run and giggle and want you to chase her and wrestle with her and halfway want to be violent with her, right? And that's the Klingon ritual of little Black girls, right? Little Black boys. And as we grow up into puberty and adulthood, it plays out a little differently, right? That's how come they want to ignore you when you walk by and not smile or say something smart or turn their head when you walk toward them so that you'll approach them. That's how it translates as they get bigger. Those are Klingon mating rituals, right? And as Black men and women grow older, Black women are used to treating us mean, and we're used to accepting it. In fact, if a Black woman treats us nicely, or a white woman treats us, any woman treats us nicely, we're not quite used to it. We don't know how to take it. We think that they're up to something because they're actually being decent to us. But you don't often hear a woman admit it, right? That they do that. They think they're just being regular, or they think they're just being who they are. And they think everybody else is soft. Every other kind of woman is soft. And the reason they don't treat us properly is because Black men are broke, or Black men are weak, or whatever. In fact, you hear that all the time when you hear them say that you can't handle me, or you can't handle a Black woman, or you too weak. You like weak women, or you like soft women. And if you're not hard enough to handle her, oh boy, you know what I'm talking about. You hear it all the time, but nobody ever talks about where it comes from and how it starts. And this is the first public admittance of how it starts, because you can hear in her voice how she thinks it's so cute. Where they first get together, it's funny, when they first get together playing basketball, he pushed her down, and she has a scar on her face, right? And when her mother dresses the wound, she takes off the bandage and looks at it, And she wears that scarf for the rest of her life, but that is her feeling of love, her feeling of devotion, a love scarf for her. That's literally what it is. You see it in the very beginning. And then when she describes that, how the little boy says he likes her, and he says he wants her to be his girl, and she said, what I got to, it's like, they could literally be adults. What I got to do. And it said, hold hands and I'll bring you flowers every day. And then what did she say? I don't like flowers, but I like Twinkies. And he said at the end of the day, they're fighting and rolling around in the grass. That is literally Black love. And the contentious nature that they have throughout the whole film is literally the Black love that we're used to. The competitiveness, the angst. We hear in these spaces on panels when women come in, Black women literally come into panels to fight with Black men. Literally to start a fight with Black men. And that is an expression of love to them. That's how they really see love. I wish I could kind of break down the whole movie. One day I might, because it's, just actually playing clips of the movie, because and actually hearing, interspersing what she says about the movie, because for them, Black love always has to be a struggle. And Black love in any space where women are actually writing about themselves and how they feel love, if they're not struggling against their man, they're not happy. There has to be some kind of tension, not sexual, but tension between a Black woman and her love interest. Otherwise, it's not spicy enough. If she's not fighting him and they're not out going through something and then ultimately laying down and having sex, then it's boring to them. That's a boring relationship to them. In fact, every girlfriend I ever had, Black girlfriend I ever had, from the time I was 15 years old, started stuff. Just to start stuff. You'd be cruising along, you'd be happy, go lucky, you'd be having a good time, and out of the blue, at least once a week, sometimes once a day, she would just start something. She would find something to fight about, and that's would make them wet. That's what would excite them. That would give them stories, and I've heard the stories, would give them stories to go back and tell how they stood up to you, how they fought back against something perceived that you did to them. I have very seldom heard a Black woman have a relationship where she didn't fight with her man over something, or always something wasn't right. White women pretend that everything is perfect, even though things probably aren't perfect. They are passive aggressive. And sometimes they do seem like they're pushovers. But Black women are basically Hellcats, man. And, because I went to a white school, man. So when I got older, I started, because I'm not sexually attracted to white women. So I was dating Black women. And most of Black women weren't raised in a white suburb, right? Or had a lot of intimate relationships with white people. So you would get with them, and the mating strategy that I wasn't used to, man, just blew my mind. It took me a long time to actually get used to it. And I'm still not really used to it. I can tell you that I'm still not really used to it. I'm still not used to Black women going left at least once a week. I'm just still not used to that, which is probably why I became monk. I just really literally wasn't used to a woman starting something every other day, just to start something. And then when you get mad, get ready to walk out, she's taking her clothes off because she's wet. And I always knew where it started from, because I remember when I was 10 years old and there was a couple of little girls that liked me, right, in the neighborhood. And they would just start stuff, throw stuff at you, talk about you, hit you. And I would ask my mother, I said, why is this little girl bothering me like that? Why is she socking me in the arm and stuff like that? My mother said she probably likes you. And even then it didn't compute. But as you grow older and you see that's the seed of it, and as you grow older, basically you see the results and how it plays out as you get older, then you realize, oh, this is just a mating ritual. Black girls being mean to you is just a mating ritual. It's just what they do. That's what they've been taught. It might be in their DNA to talk to you harshly, to have something smart to say to you. And Generation Z, they really have that stuff bad, man, where they snap off. Little Black girls snap off at you with a little smart mouth, right? And then they want to grin at you. They want to laugh about it. And they think that's supposed to be attractive. But then again, when they talk about being approached and a man being aggressive, even though he's being appeasing, they get mad at that. No wonder black men are saying, you know what, I'm out. Y'all can stay over there with your crazy asses. And I don't blame black men. I don't blame Generation Z for being indifferent or basically keeping them 10 feet away at an arm's length. Black women have to learn a new mating pattern, man. Black women have to train their girls to have a new mating pattern. Because going forward, though, if their mating pattern is opposite of everybody else's, which it is, because that's, I'm watching a couple of shows like Black Lady Sketch Show and even I think it's called Run the World, and you see this stuff play out, and it is just bizarre. And these are shows that black women write. These aren't shows that black men write. This is who they say they are. But anywho, I thought this was funny, and I just wanted to drop this in because you don't often see black women admit anything, especially their mating pattern. So without further ado, I'm going to bounce over here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.